police officer that we pay to protect and serve park his patrol car, go in the bushes, go into my daughter's house, and point blank execute her, he need never see the light of day again. And I hope he die and burn in hell.
This is the story of Dominique Clayton, aged 32, a mother of 4 beautiful children who was shot dead in her sleep by her married boyfriend, Officer Matthew Kinne, aged 38. Officer Matthew had showered her with monetary gifts but was worried his wife might find out and also could not continue with his lavish gift, so he decided to kill Dominique, which he did while she was sleeping with his service pistol. Hello and welcome to Twisted Crimes. Subscribe and hit the like button for more stories.
Mississippi police officer has been charged with murder in the death of a 32-year-old woman.
This story will be taking us to the city of Oxford in Mississippi. Oxford is a city and college town in the U.S. state of Mississippi. Oxford lies 75 miles south-southeast of Memphis, Tennessee, and is the county seat of Lafayette County. Founded in 1837, it was named after the British city of Oxford. Dominique Clayton, aged 32, lived in Oxford, Mississippi. She was a devoted mother to her 4 kids. She was said to be the life of the party. Dominique was doing all what she could to give her kids the best life possible. She was said to be loving, kind, sweet and nice. Dominique had broken up with the father of her kids for some reason and decided to move on with someone else. She eventually met someone named Matthew Kinne. Matthew was an officer with the Oxford Police Department in Mississippi. He had been with the force 4 years prior to this incident. Matthew met Dominique and he professed his love for her, but the only hindrance was that Matthew was married. As time passed, they got into a romantic relationship and Matthew would gift her numerous items. It was said that he would sometimes pay her rent, give her money, also bought her a car. He had promised to buy her a house before this incident, but that never materialized, which some people said was why the crime happened in the first place.
He bought my sister a car, had it in her name, his name. Her car was in his name. He was about to get her a house. He basically just didn't want his wife to.
On this tragic day, Dominique had been home alone because her 4 children were spending the night with their uncle. When they came home on Sunday, her 8-year-old son went inside with hopes of luring his mother out for a prank. He came back outside alone and told his family she was dead. The police were called to the scene and they found out that Dominique had a gunshot injury to her head. The police ruled it a self-inflicted injury, but for some reason, the family members noticed foul play and called for more investigation.
Tonight, the Mississippi Bureau of Investigation is trying to figure out who killed an Oxford mother in her own home. Good evening, I'm Joe Burge.
And I'm Kanji Anthony. Police are releasing very little information about this case. WMC Action News 5's Kelly Cook is in Oxford with what she has learned about the investigation.
Family says Clayton's 8-year-old son made the gruesome discovery. Now, state investigators have been called in to figure out who would want to take this woman's life. Monday afternoon, brand new twin beds were being delivered for Dominique Lachelle Clayton's 4 children. The kids can't go to their home next door because it's now a crime scene. Yellow tape and Oxford police officers still surround the home more than 36 hours after the 32-year-old was found dead inside her home on Suncrest Drive in Oxford. Her children now living with family next door.
It's terrible, and shocking that, it happened and it was so close to my mom. And everybody over here is like a tight community and they talk to each other.
One thing everyone echoed in this Brittany Woods neighborhood was Clayton was a devoted mother. Clayton's body was found 2 p.m. Sunday. Investigators wouldn't say how she was killed, but Clayton's mother and sister, who did not want to go on camera, said she was shot in the back of the head in her bedroom while they believe she was sleeping. The Mississippi Bureau of Investigation has now taken over the case at the request of the Oxford police. Oxford police would not say why that request was made. The family just wants answers as to why this mother's life was taken so soon.
I just think it's a terrible situation.
NBI says they will not release any more information while this case is under investigation.
The case was handed over to the NBI. Days later, the Mississippi Bureau of Investigation took Oxford police officer Matthew Kinne, 38, into custody and charged him with murder in Dominique's death.
Mississippi police officer has been charged with murder in the death of a 32-year-old woman. WMC Action News 5's Allie Herrera is live in Oxford with what she has learned about this mother. Allie.
Oxford's interim police chief says Officer Matthew Kinne has worked with the department for 4 years. He said early on investigators learned Kinne was possibly involved with the victim. At a news conference Tuesday, Oxford interim police chief Jeff McCutcheon wanted to make his message clear.
This badge stands for truth and justice. And today is about justice for Dominique.
McCutcheon announced one of his own men, Matthew Kinne, had been arrested in connection to the homicide of 32-year-old Dominique Clayton. The mother of 4 was found dead Sunday afternoon inside her home on Suncrest Drive. Family members told WMC Action News 5 she had been shot while sleeping in her bedroom.
We want the truth out and we want justice for my sister.
Oxford police requested the help of the Mississippi Bureau of Investigation.
Once the investigation is complete, all facts and findings will be turned over to the district attorney for review.
We went to Kinne's listed address, but no one came to the door. Neighbors say the news leaves them uneasy.
If that's the case, I'm not going to let that reflect on another officer's actions. I still have the same respect for any other officers.
Clayton's family had no further comment Tuesday, so as not to disrupt the investigation.
They crossing all their T's and dotting all their I's. So right now, that's it.
The chief of police later came out saying he promised transparency after many people doubted their honesty.
Good morning. My name is Jeff McCutcheon. I'm the interim chief of police at the Oxford Police Department. Thank you all for being here on such short notice. The purpose today is to provide as much information to our community as we can without jeopardizing the case. For that reason, we will not be accepting questions at this time. We will answer questions, we will discuss and do interviews, but today is not that day. First, our hearts go out to the family of Dominique Clayton. To the family, we thank you for your patience and your trust in us to see this through. It was discovered early on in the investigation that one of our officers, Matthew Kinne, a 4-year officer with the Oxford Police Department, was possibly involved with Dominique. We immediately contacted the Mississippi Bureau of Investigations to protect the investigation and to provide our community with assurance that the investigation would be independent and unbiased. To our community, we know that you're hurting, and we want to assure you that we will not hide behind our badge. This badge stands for truth and justice, and today is about justice for Dominique. Dominique was a mother, a daughter, a sister, a friend, and a member of our community, and today is about her.
Dominique's sister was able to let detectives know that her sister was having an affair with Matthew. She said he was real possessive and stalking her and kept sneaking in her house. She guessed he did this killing so he wouldn't have to tell his wife about the affair. Matthew was photographed in the Panola jail outside of his jail cell freely standing at a counter eating without handcuffs with no officers around him, which caused a debate online. It was more like a preferential treatment while incarcerated in jail. Also, emotions were at an all-time high outside an Oxford courtroom Wednesday after the cop accused of murder appeared in court, as family felt the judge was treating the case too lightheartedly for reasons unknown.
Emotions at an all-time high outside this Oxford courtroom after an officer accused of murder appears in court. We've also learned the officer has been fired. Good evening, and thank you for joining us. I'm Kanji Anthony.
And I'm Joe Birch. That former officer has been in a relationship, allegedly, with the woman he's accused of killing. WMC Action News 5's Kelly Cook caught up with the victim's mother after the hearing, and tonight she reveals the reason why she says Matthew Kinne was driving to kill.
Oxford Police's interim police chief says Matthew Kinne is a danger to the community. The victim's mother says the possibility that he could be released on bond is not justice for her daughter.
Police officer that we pay to protect and serve park his patrol car, go in the bushes, go into my daughter's house and point blank execute her. You want him on the streets? You want him as your neighbor? No.
Bessie Clayton not happy with the judge's decision to defer the bond hearing for 38-year-old Matthew Kinne, charged with murdering her 32-year-old daughter, Dominique Clayton.
Kinne committed murder, and we do not want him out. We support them, and we will stand by them.
Emotion spilled outside the courtroom as family felt the judge was treating the case too lightheartedly.
This is murder. He should have been serious.
The mother of four's body was found in her home Sunday afternoon by her 8-year-old son. The family says she was shot while sleeping. Oxford police knew early on in the investigation that Kinne and Clayton knew each other. Family says they had been dating for about a year, with Kinne paying for many of her expenses.
He was doing things he couldn't afford to do. The only way he seen out was to kill my daughter.
Kinne worked for the Oxford Police Department since 2015. Tuesday, the Oxford Board of Aldermen voted to fire the former Mounted Patrol Officer of the Year. Now Kinne sits in a Panola County jail cell. Her mother left to grieve the loss of her child and start the process of raising the 4 children she left behind.
He need never see the light of day again, and I hope he die and burn in hell.
The judge deferred the bond hearing to sometime next week. A date was not given.
The family lawyer spoke on behalf of them, talking about how the discovery has impacted her son, and also they almost swept the case under the rug by saying she caused the injury to herself.
If the facts determine that it was not capital murder and it was simply murder, the family is going to want him sentenced to life in prison without possibility of parole. We are not here to prejudge any of the facts, but we are confident that no stone will be unturned in discovering the truth. The family also wants to know, why did certain members of the Oxford Police Department initially tell them that their loved one had committed? That was so shocking and the furthest from the truth. The mother had spoken to her daughter about 6 or 7 p.m. the night before she was found dead, and she was totally happy and full of life. But for the initial reaction from a member or two of the Oxford Police Department to tell the family that she committed, that had to add insult to injury.
After finding his mother shot dead in her sleep by her married boyfriend, a cop, the 8-year-old son of Dominique Clayton has had a hard time.
He's crying in his sleep. He's reaching for his mom in his sleep. And his dad, he crying, watching his son crying in his sleep. And it's tough.
Matthew was formally charged with the murder of Clayton and denied bond. He remained in custody at the Panola County Jail since his arrest. It was later discovered that Matthew Kinne was in uniform when he shot Dominique Clayton during what was billed as a welfare check. He pleaded guilty to capital murder. Matthew was sentenced to life in prison without parole for killing Dominique Clayton after breaking into her home and shooting her in the back of the head inside her home on Suncrest Drive.
Life behind bars. That's the sentence for a former Oxford police officer who pleaded guilty to a 2019 murder. Action News 5's Ariana Poindexter has the latest on Matthew Kinne's plea deal.
Joe and Kanji, court lasted for about 20 minutes from start to finish, and during that time, former Oxford police officer Matthew Kinne pleaded guilty to capital murder in the death of Dominique Clayton, meaning he will spend the rest of his life in prison without the possibility of parole. Dozens of Clayton's loved ones were at the plea hearing. They said they wanted the death penalty, but are still pleased knowing that Kinne will spend the rest of his life in prison.
Thank you. Justice has been served.
Yes, justice was served, but not only that.
At night, a former Mississippi police officer who pleaded guilty to capital murder charges now has to pay the 4 children of the woman he shot and killed more than $2 million. Former Oxford officer Matthew Kinne is serving life. He pled guilty to capital murder after breaking into Dominique Clayton's home while in uniform and killing her. Now, the two were reportedly in a romantic relationship at the time.
Our sincere condolences to the friends and families of Dominique Clayton. May Dominique's memory be a blessing for her family and for all who knew her, and may her life and death be an inspiration and a turning point towards justice and increased protection for domestic abuse survivors. Please stay safe out there, and see you guys in the next video.